Hello there! Why did that sound so weird? For those of you who do not know me, quick background. I am a massive Doctor Who fan, and I have been watching Doctor Who since its revival as it originally aired when I was about 9 years old, I think, back in 2004-ish. But one thing I have never done is watched Torchwood, primarily because Torchwood is a very mature spin-off, well, kind of immature, but we'll get to that. It's very adult, I guess I should say, compared to Doctor Who, which is for all ages. And as a kid, I guess I kind of picked up on that vibe and went, I'll watch that another time. And now I'm 28. I'm like, yeah, I probably should have watched this by now. With the advent of all things Doctor Who hitting iPlayer this November, I have been looking through the catalogue, and when I saw Torchwood, I thought, you know what? Now's as good a time as any. Why not? Who knows? Maybe they'll bring Torchwood back. Maybe that'll be the next announcement, and I'll feel silly for being not caught up on it. So lo and behold, I took a quick time travel trip back to 2006 and met Gwen Cooper. Well, I already met Gwen Cooper, but you know what I mean. I met Gwen Cooper earlier within her own particular timeline. I'm not going to make this video too long, so here's a quick, snappy opinion on Season 1 of Torchwood. I loved it. I had so much fun with it. I was addicted to it, which is a sign of a good show, and I think it is incredibly cheesy, excessively horny, and kind of cringeworthy, and I loved every second. I love how messy the characters are. None of the characters are particularly morally good. Even Gwen gets corrupted by trauma and ends up seeking solace in the arms of another man. That being said, I think Gwen Cooper is the best written character on the show. She feels realistic. She feels like she is a character who is full of love, who is very giving with love in a way which obviously manifests in an unhealthy way within her own relationship, but also I think can be pretty wholesome. And I feel like we all know someone like Gwen, someone who just has so much love to give, and she feels like the perfect antithesis of the rest of the members of Torchwood, who are hardened already by the things that they have seen within their job. I mean, Jack literally says her job is to provide, like, the empathy, the humanity aspect of things. I really, really, really like Gwen Cooper. I am so endeared to her character, and despite knowing that we've got 3 more seasons of Torchwood to watch, I'm already rooting for them to bring her back, you know, providing she isn't dead. But I feel like I wouldn't have seen people saying bring back Gwen Cooper if she was dead. But then, I don't know, timey-wimey nonsense, or more likely in this show, deathy-weffy nonsense. The way death is treated in this show took me by surprise. Obviously, I knew going into this that a big factor of this show would be the idea that Jack Harkness cannot die, and that they would play with that idea. I already know that Season 4 plays with this idea a lot as well, because everyone then can't die. I know that's the premise of Miracle Day. That's pretty much all I know. But the resurrection gauntlet surprised me, the idea that this alien artifact could bring people back from the dead for a limited time. In my personal headcanon, that doesn't fit in with the laws of physics within Doctor Who's universe, but then the Doctor's literally psychic, so what do I know? One thing I really liked about this season of Torchwood is how experimental it got in terms of genre. We had a horror episode, we had a romance episode, we had an episode which is kind of similar to the one with, oh god, what's it called? The one with the guy who loves Electric Light Orchestra and his girlfriend got turned into a paving slab and it was implied that she gave him rocky blowjobs. All ages, everyone, all ages. It felt like one of those episodes, one of those away from the main cast episodes. I'm talking, of course, about Random Shoes, the episode focused on Eugene. I found that to be like, if I had watched that earlier in life, I feel like I would have just been annoyed by that episode. But watching it now, it was so tragic and sad, and like this absolute deep dive into the life and death of this individual who met an unfortunate early end and had quite a sad life, and Gwen's obsession with like solving his death and everything. But it's told through this character's very naive and innocent perspective, despite it being such a heavy subject matter. Obviously, I loved the episode directly after it, which I'm sure is one of the most beloved and famous episodes, which is Out of Time, the one where the aircraft from 1953 ends up flying through the time rift, and these 3 people from the 50s have to deal with adjusting to life I was going to say 2023, but that's not true, is it? This is 2006. Interestingly, the show does feel dated, but it doesn't really feel that dated. The main thing is the mobile phones. They're just like 1 year away from smartphones, and it really shows because the gap between the phones that we had before smartphones and having smartphones can be seen in this show. Anyway, I want to talk about the show's morals. It's a lot darker than Doctor Who, and I think sometimes in its attempts to be more mature, it ends up being a little bit immature. It ends up coming across as too edgy. You've got you've got the grandiose like speeches, the shaky cam, the shouting in each other's faces, the slow motion big coat swishing walks and sunglasses and stuff. It's a little bit too hard to take it seriously. And then you've got messages which I don't necessarily agree with in terms of like, is it okay to let this person in their own life, etc. But again, this is meant to be a slightly darker, slightly grittier take on the universe. And to be fair, even if I didn't agree with the moral outcomes of some of the stories, it made sense for the characters who made the decisions. I didn't think it was weird writing, if that makes sense. One of the things that did stick out like a sore thumb in terms of aging was the episode based on... I don't know her name! Tosh, how could I forget Tosh's name? The episode based on her, which I really, really loved, because it's basically a queer story of her, being seduced by another woman and realising that she is attracted to women. There's a really fun line where... oh, what was it? So, I'm shagging a woman and an alien. Which one is worse? I know which one my parents would say. But unfortunately, that episode was kind of ruined by a really out-of-place and unnecessary transphobic dig from Jack Harkness of all characters. And while it's never okay, I think this can absolutely be put down to the culture of the noughties. Shows in the noughties are absolutely fucking rife with this shit. I don't think it would get written into the show now, but I also don't think it made sense for the show back then, but I also don't think it is something that was really considered a serious issue back then. But it watching in 2023, it stuck out like a sore thumb and kind of killed my enjoyment of that episode just a little bit. Before I get away from talking about individual episodes, I really enjoyed Countryside, which is this like full left turn into horror as they get sent to investigate murders which have to be alien in nature because of how horrific they are. And then, of course, it turns out that the humans were the real monsters. It was, like, legit spooky shit. Like, not the scariest stuff I've ever watched, but definitely, like, I was like, alright, I'll watch an episode of Torchwood before bed. And I was like... alright, I'll watch another episode of Torchwood before bed, so that's not the last thing on my mind before I go to sleep. I must admit, I found the finale to be one of the weaker episodes, one of the more cheeseball episodes. The sci-fi was very rickety, everything just kind of went back to normal at the end in a very convenient way, and I did find it interesting that it seemed like they were alluding to the antagonist being the son of the beast from... the Impossible Planet. If that is the case, then they did not do that villain justice and should be a little bit embarrassed about it, but there was an attempt. So yeah, it was messy. I enjoyed a lot of the adult themes. I stuck with some of the cringier moments, and some of the characters were great aside from obviously Jack and Gwen. I think I'm really interested in Owen, because if I knew him in real life, I would despise him. He is such a wanker, and yet somehow he's kind of lovable. I think episode 3, The Ghost Machine, really endeared me to Owen. That's the first time we see that, like, I guess it's kind of tropey, but he's got a brash outside, he's like a wanker, but then you see below the masculine shield, and he's actually got emotions. He has the capacity to feel things. I guess this is the same reason I liked a lot of characters in Skins back when I watched that. Also, just another note on the whole queerness thing. I do like how queer this show is. Like, I think every character has a gay kiss. Every character of the main cast has a gay kiss at some point. Let's see, Gwen snogs the girl who was possessed by the horny alien. Owen gets into a fight with a guy for running off with his girlfriend, so he uses the magical horny spray on himself to get the guy interested in him as well, to make things easier. He calls for a taxi, and I don't know whether that was to escape the situation or to take them both back to his place. Ianto snogs Jack. Tosh snogs the alien lady. There's a lot of alien snogging, isn't there? And Captain Jack is Captain Jack, so yeah, they're all kind of queer to some degree, which is just really fun, especially for 2006. If a show handled its sexual themes a little bit more tactfully, then I might be a little bit happier about it, but again, this is 2006. But yeah, overall, I really enjoyed it. I like how it filled in some of Captain Jack's backstory as well. I know there's going to be more of that to come. And I just want to finish this video so I can get back to watching it season 2. I already had a pretty good idea of where this fit in with a timeline, but it's nice to know that on my Doctor Who or my New Who rewatch, I can now slot that in because I haven't got to even meeting Jack Harkness yet. Oh, and one thing I absolutely love is the fact that this is a Doctor Who spin-off, but the Doctor does not get mentioned until one of the final words at the end of the season, and even then, he doesn't show up, and he's not really spoken about to any of the cast. I assume there will be more about him in season 2, but this very much felt like a deliberate attempt to carve out a corner of the Whoniverse without the Doctor, and I think they did so quite successfully. Either that, or the BBC said to Russell T Davies, you can either have the Doctor or you can have a horny script, not both. Anyway, yeah, those are my thoughts on season 1 of Torchwood. Let me know what you thought down below if you like. I'm not gonna make you. I'm not your dad. I could be your dad. For a price. What? And who am I to speak of maturity? Like the video if you liked it. It makes me feel tingly, happy brain cell things. And subscribe for more. I'll see you in the next one.